Under the cold flicker of the fluorescent lights, I stood in the middle of what used to be my father's butcher shop, our shop. Glass shattered beneath my boots as I stepped over the broken counter, the same one I'd leaned on 1,000 times, cracking jokes with old Mrs. Whitaker about her favorite ribeye cuts. Now it was gutted, refrigerators unplugged, meat gone, cash register pried open like a wound. I didn't breathe. Couldn't. The smell of bleach and scorched plastic filled my nostrils. It wasn't just vandalism. This was surgical, intentional. Somebody wanted me out of business, wanted us erased. Then I saw it. Spray painted in thick black letters across the back wall over the photo of my dad in his apron, smiling with his arm around me at 12 years old. "You were never good enough." I dropped to my knees, not from sadness, from rage so sudden it felt like a stroke. My fists clenched without me realizing, nails cutting into my palms. My dad taught me to never swing unless I meant it, but he never said what to do when you had no one to swing at. I pulled out my phone, dialed Tim, my oldest friend, our delivery guy, the one who always knew what was going on in the neighborhood. He picked up on the second ring. "Danny?" "They hit the shop," I said. "Jesus, I heard something about a fire but didn't think—" "It wasn't fire. It was them. Was it Killian?" Silence. "Tim." "Yeah," he said, quiet. "Killian Foods opened a block down last week. They're buying out every supplier you ever had, offering double. Same day I saw your new order go unfilled, I figured something was up." I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. This was something else. This was the kind of shaking you get when every part of you is trying not to explode. I stared at the wreckage around me. Every blade, every cutting board, every inch of tile carried years of sweat, of pride, of early mornings when my dad would slap me awake with a mug of black coffee and say, "Let's go earn it, son." I wasn't going to let some corporate parasite in a pressed suit steal that from me. I picked up the photo of me and Dad off the ground. The glass was shattered, but we were still smiling underneath. The next morning, I drove out to Frankie Russo's warehouse in South Haven. It was 30 miles off route past 2 counties and just outside legal distribution zones for small shops like mine. But Frankie owed my father a favor. Hell, he owed him a few. When I walked in, Frankie was hunched over a slab of veal, carving like a surgeon. He didn't look up. "Thought you were dead, Danny." "Not yet," I said. "But Killian Foods is trying." He wiped his knife on his apron, finally meeting my eyes. "Yeah, I heard. Bastards came sniffing around here too, waving contracts like candy." "You sell to them?" He frowned. "What do you take me for?" "Good." I pulled out my checkbook. "I need twice my usual, weekly, off the books." He whistled. "You back in business?" "Not yet, but I've got a plan." That afternoon, I scouted the neighborhood. Killian's new store was polished like a movie set. Steel logo, spotless windows, an army of teenagers in hairnets giving away organic samples like communion wafers. But their layout was weak. Too much space between product stations. Bad lighting in the rear. And worst of all, they had no soul. No butcher behind the counter who remembered your kids' names or asked about your mom's health. I spent the next few weeks rebuilding what I could. Not in the same place. That would be playing defense. I found a spot 2 blocks over, smaller but with a better street view. I pulled long nights repainting, repairing. My wife, Rachel, started baking fresh bread every morning just like her grandmother did back in Brooklyn. We didn't call it artisan, we just called it real. But I needed more than nostalgia to get customers back. I needed to hit Killian where it hurt. Reputation. So I started talking. Quietly. A whispered rumor here, a suggestion there. Stories of questionable sourcing. Photos of underweight packages. Names of old employees they underpaid. I never lied. I just amplified the truth, and the truth was enough. By the time my shop, Salerno and Son reopened. The neighborhood had already made up its mind. The first day, we had a line down the block. Fathers bringing their sons, old-timers with canes and coupons they'd saved for years. I stood behind the counter in my white apron, blood on my hands, and smiled. But I wasn't done. Not yet. This was just the setup. The real game hadn't started. It fell apart on a Thursday. One minute, I was slicing brisket for a regular named Howard, 82, still sharp as a tack, and the next, the health inspector walked in. Not the usual guy. This one wore a slick gray suit instead of a uniform, clipboard tight in his hands like it was a weapon. "Daniel Salerno?" he asked, too loud. "Yeah," I said, wiping my hands on my apron. "I'm here on behalf of the county board. We've received several complaints. Sanitation, sourcing, tax irregularities." Howard blinked. "That's crap," he muttered, but I already knew what this was. Killian. He was coming after my licenses now. I cooperated, showed him everything, fridge temps, supplier lists, even the new grease trap Rachel insisted we install. But he didn't care. He wasn't here to check. He was here to shut me down. An hour later, I stood alone in the shop, doors locked, lights off. My hands gripped the counter, knuckles white. I stared at the wood grain like it might offer a way out. It didn't. I called Frankie. "They shut me down." He sighed. "Killian?" "Yeah." Pause. "You want me to make some calls?" "No," I said. "Not yet." Then I called Tim. No answer. Then again. Still nothing. My throat dried up, something twisted in my gut. Rachel came in around 5. Her hair still in a bandana, flour on her arms. "Danny, what happened?" I told her. She didn't yell, didn't panic, just sat on the stool and looked at me. "Do we give up?" And that's when I cracked. Not in rage this time, not even in fear, just cracked. "I don't know what else to do," I whispered. My voice broke halfway through. She walked over, held my face. "You're not your father, Danny. You're you. You don't need to win this his way." I wanted to believe her, but I couldn't shake the shame of failing, of being so close, so damn close, only to have it ripped away. I walked outside. Cold air slapped my face. I stared across the street, where a family loaded their Killian groceries into a plastic trunk. That was supposed to be my customer, my sale, my legacy. I sank to the curb. And for the first time in 15 years, I cried, right there, under the broken neon sign, with my name half lit and flickering. I cried like a boy again, like the day I buried my father. And in that silence, I swore I'd never feel this way again. The next morning, I didn't go to the shop. I drove instead to the edge of the city, where warehouses gave way to gravel lots and semi-trucks lined up like tombstones. That's where I found Nico Vargas. He used to run with Frankie back in the day, before Frankie went legit, before Nico took his talent for logistics underground. If you needed unregistered transport, off-grid refrigeration, or a guy who could hack a shipment tracker, Nico was your man. "I heard you went soft," he said, not even bothering to shake my hand. "I heard you got lazy," I shot back. He grinned. "All right then, what's the job?" I told him. Everything. About Killian's sabotage, the fake complaints, the corporate hit disguised as health inspections. He listened, quiet, dead-eyed. Then he cracked his neck and said, "So you want to burn his house down?" "No," I said. "I want to sell him his own inventory." Nico blinked. "You're gonna rob him?" "Not rob. Redirect. You know his main supplier?" "Yeah, Mercer and Loeb." "Good. You still got friends in dispatch?" 3 nights later, a refrigerated truck left Mercer's warehouse marked for Killian's flagship store. It never arrived. 2 pallets of high-grade USDA prime beef somehow got rerouted, vanished into the system. 48 hours later, those same cuts showed up, branded under a new name, at a small weekend market I set up inside a disused bakery 3 neighborhoods away. No signage, no advertising, just a whisper on the street. Salerno's back. Underground. Cash only. Lines formed. Fast. We ran out in hours. I kept it moving. A new pop-up every weekend. A new borrowed location. People brought friends. The press caught wind. The ghost butcher of South Brooklyn, one blog called me. They didn't know it was me. Not yet. Rachel ran the register. Frankie provided cuts. Nico moved product. We were lean, we were fast, and every dollar we made was cash, untouchable, off Killian's radar until he ran out of stock. I heard the first rumors a week later. Killian's shipments were getting hijacked, delayed. Inspectors breathing down his neck now. Turns out the health board doesn't like bribery when you botch it twice in a row. By the 3rd week, he showed up at my pop-up. No suit this time, just rage. He walked right up to the folding table, past the crowd, and slammed his hands down. "You think this is going to end well for you?" I didn't flinch, just handed him a vacuum-sealed strip loin. "This one's on the house, Mr. Killian." The crowd laughed. He left red-faced, empty-handed. But that wasn't the win. Not yet. That was just the message. The real blow was coming. And it would land when he least expected it. It happened during the Food and Heritage Expo downtown, a polished invitation-only affair where vendors paid thousands for the chance to display their authentic products to investors and media. Killian Foods had a prime slot, flashy banners, branded chef coats, a PR team that moved like a choreographed dance. They were unveiling a new farm-to-table butcher experience, scripted demos, smiling influencers, cameras everywhere. And there I was, badge around my neck, hands clean, hair combed back. My name wasn't on any list. But Nico had friends at the printing company that made those badges. I watched from a corner, sipping bad espresso from a paper cup, as Killian himself took the stage. At Killian Foods, we believe in sustainability, transparency, and... I slipped out before he finished, because it was already done. 2 hours earlier, while the media team was setting up, one of Nico's guys had walked through the back entrance with a dolly of vacuum-sealed beef. He wore a Killian apron, a fake name tag, and the confidence of someone who belonged. He swapped out their prime display cuts with the borrowed inventory we'd been moving for weeks, every single slab of it traceable to my operation. Labeled, coded, tagged, so when the health board showed up, tipped off anonymously, of course, and tested the meat on display, they found something curious. Multiple inconsistencies in sourcing data. Dates didn't match. Weights were off. Some of the packaging even had our old Salerno and Son ink stamps, half-scrubbed but visible under UV. Killian stood frozen, mid-sentence, as they shut his booth down in front of a dozen cameras. No yelling, no handcuffs, just a slow public collapse. The next day, the papers ran it everywhere. Killian Foods under investigation for mislabeling, source tampering. Their stock dipped. Their CEO stepped down, temporarily. Vendors pulled contracts, and in the quiet shadow of their embarrassment, I reopened Salerno and Son, permanently. Same name. New location, brick walls, open counter, hardwood butcher block my dad would have loved. No more pop-ups, no more whispers. Just me, my team, and the long line of customers we'd earned back. I stood behind the counter that first morning, knife in hand, watching the sun crawl through the window. Rachel handed me a mug of coffee, black as asphalt. "You did it," she said. I didn't answer. Outside, the first customer stepped through the door.